Hey there. Today is July 31st. Therefore, it is post-op day 30. I had my appointments in Cleveland these past couple days. Mom and I actually got home late, probably dang near midnight last night. It's supposed to be an 8-hour trip, and I think it took us almost 11, somewhere between 10 and 11. We hit tons of road construction. We hit different issues with car accidents. We actually stopped on the way home at this grandpa's cheese barn that we had seen on the way up there, and I'd seen the sign. There's tons of signs multiple times on my way, and I was like, oh man, we should stop there on the way home. It looks really good. And we ended up getting some cheese and some summer sausage and some pickles. I got some chocolate with sea salt caramel popcorn that's fantastic. And just, it was a really, really cool store. It's all locally produced. They had a little bit of everything. They even had like this whole like chocolate candy kind of factory next door. But we stopped there, and it was probably like an hour outside of Cleveland. And right after we stopped there, we hit, boom, a ton of traffic. And it had 3 lanes had condensed to 1, and Mom and I were kind of complaining about it, and then we figured out, I bet there was a wreck, and we were probably very, very lucky that we stopped, because you never know, it could have been us. So we were looking on the bright side of things, and plus we were in a fantastic mood. I got pretty much good reports all around. On the 29th, I saw the gynecologist up there, and we kind of just went over everything, and she had pretty much specifically said, like, she wasn't surprised at all that I got a cyst, because I had stopped my birth control pills that I take to keep everything regulated. I had stopped those for the surgery because they can cause blood clots in women. So, of course, after surgery, you're laid up. You're supposed to go off of anything that could contribute to that. So, I had done that with the first surgery, but it apparently not had any problems. This time around, she's like, yeah, a lot of people, when they go off their birth controls, they're young and they're healthy. She said they ovulate, and those cysts tend to form. So, her only recommendation was, if I'm not in any pain or having any issues with it, just to check it again in 6 to 8 weeks, do another ultrasound, sonogram type thing, of my pelvic area and see. She said sometimes these cysts collapse on their own, and she's like, that's what I expect to see if she was going to do that ultrasound. She's like, or you will see them getting bigger, filling up with blood, but she said I would be in, quite a bit of pain. So that was good news, really. I kind of look at it on the bright side. They told me that any kind of abdominal surgeries and doing stuff down around my pelvic region, it may be harder for me to get pregnant someday. So to me, even though it was a cyst and it sucked and it was very painful, it kind of tells me that everything's still working down there. I was able to ovulate, and hopefully someday won't have to have any assistance in having a child. So that was the good side of it, I guess. I took it, I am so trying to look on the positive side of everything. Like, that wreck, it was a good thing that Mom and I had stopped, because you never know, it could have been us. Yes, I went through a lot of pain for this cyst, but hey, to me that's kind of good news that maybe I won't have trouble later down the road. And then, so really the rest of my follow-up with that can be done here in Knoxville. So I need to just call my local gynecologist, and we're going to get all the paperwork from up there sent to her office, and we'll just go from there. So that was on the 29th, which was Tuesday. When I had blogged on Monday night, I had said that Mom and I hopefully were going to get to go to the botanical gardens. We had looked it up. It opened at 10. We were like, oh, this looks so great. Well, I don't know what exactly happened, and I would assume I probably didn't drink enough on the 8-hour car ride up there, and what I did drink was a lot of coffee, iced coffee, and a little bit of Gatorade, but I don't really think I even had any water. But I woke up that next morning. I knew I needed to change my bag, which I did, and I got in the shower and shaved, because of course you're going to the gynecologist, you want to be shaved. So I got out of the shower and I just told Mom, I was like, God, I don't feel very well. And I was just exhausted and just very blah, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I could go back to sleep. And so Mom was like, lay back down. Like, we're here for your checkups. We're not here to sightsee or, for a fun trip. But I felt terrible because I had been so excited about these gardens. So lo and behold, I crawled back into bed and slept for, probably another 3 hours, 4 hours almost. I slept till 1, and Mom woke me and she's like, hey, we gotta get going. You want to leave at 2 for your appointment. And so I got up, and it felt much better after sleeping, but I just think that drive just took it out of me, and it wasn't worth the poop, which is very frustrating. I mean, I know it's going to happen, and I know that a full day of travel isn't easy even on a healthy person, so I shouldn't have been shocked, but it just kind of sucked. So anyways, went to my doctor's appointment. That went well. I was pleased with that. Then we walked not too far from our apartment. Kind of just took a little stroll when we got back. Our hotel. It's very close to downtown Cleveland, very close to the Indians baseball stadium. So we took a little walk. There was an Indians game, so that it was pretty busy. And we ended up eating at this place called the Clevelander Bar and Grill. Had fantastic hamburgers. And after that, I was then again exhausted, and we went back to the hotel, slept fairly good. I don't know, as good as you can sleep in a hotel, I guess. Went downstairs, got some breakfast, and we loaded up the car. Went and saw Dr. Gorgon, and he was very pleased with the way everything was going. He was very happy about how everything went in the hospital. He had looked over my CT from the ER, and here's the kicker, is he even said, he's like, oh yeah, I think while I was in there doing your surgery that I saw a cyst. He's like, so I'm not surprised. And he's like, this happens a lot to people your age and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you saw it? You didn't say anything? Like, oh, you may have some pelvic pain later on if the cyst continues to grow. But obviously that's not his area of expertise. So he probably just didn't even think to mention it. Or, you know, we probably have them all the time and don't even really realize it, is what I'm beginning to grasp. So he was not really too concerned about when I got dehydrated. I mean, it's so common. He didn't like the way the redness looked around my site, which I knew that no one was going to. So we talked about that, and he's like, but you're going to fix it, right? And I was like, yes. Just because the appliance, the bag that I was wearing didn't work for a loop ileostomy versus the end ileostomy. He walked in the door pretty much, and I told him, I was like, I want my end illy back. And I was like, this one's angry and temperamental. And he's like, I hear that quite often. But I mean, it makes sense that it's gonna take your body a while to adjust to the fact that 3 feet of my small intestine that was compensating for not having a large intestine is now used to form a pouch and is not in use at this moment in time either. So of course things are going to run through you a little bit faster, and you're going to have to watch it more than with the previous surgery. A nutritionist came in. She was actually rounding with the stoma nurse, and she was asking me what the difference was between surgery 1 and surgery 2. And that's the biggest thing, is I feel like if I'm not constantly drinking Gatorade, G2, water, which I do drink a lot of coffee, but if I don't stay on it, then I just feel completely run down. I feel like I could sleep all day, and I just don't have the energy that I did the first go round, which is not good, working 12-hour shifts in a NICU, because I always feel dehydrated anyways. So the other thing, I think I puzzled Dr. Gorgon. I think I puzzle him every time he sees me. But I told him about how I'd found like full Motrin in my bag like a week after I'd taken them. He said I could possibly have a very tiny ileus somewhere, or maybe a very tiny blockage, but it didn't show up on the CT. I said, well, maybe it didn't form until after that, or after my little ER stint. He said, well, if I keep noticing stuff like that, to let him know, but he's like, that's pretty odd. I was like, yeah, go figure. We talked about the fact that with this loop ileostomy, how my skin isn't flat anymore, that it has a big dip on the right side. It's like the lower right side. And his resident actually came and had a nice conversation with me about that, and he said, well, the main reason it's doing that right now is from when they pulled the lower part from where he made the pouch. So he pulled that piece of intestine up to, like, as a mucus drainage. So my loop ileostomy, if you look at it like this, he pulled that intestine through there and then cut a little slice at the bottom of it. So anything produced from the bottom half can drain, like mucus can drain from out the bottom, and the stool comes from out the top. So he said that's pulling that tight, so it's kind of puckering around the site, if that makes any sense to anyone but me. So he said as soon as they go in for the third surgery and push everything back to where it should be, he said that my skin should be flat and I will have a cute little button of a scar. I was like, oh, a button. Well, I like buttons, so that works. And again, Dr. Gorgon kind of went over stuff with me about the third surgery, how it will be the easiest. Time in the hospital is 2 to 3 days versus 4 to 5. Pretty much. He just goes in and stitches me back together, stitches that loop ileostomy back together, pushes it back where it needs to be. There's really no major abdominal muscles that get cut this time. There's not a whole lot of moving stuff around everywhere. He will do a contrast study before he sets me free, I guess, just to make sure that the pouch is completely secure, that nothing's leaking, and that stuff will pass through where it needs to go. He said once it's all said and done, he'll wake me up, and as soon as I poop like a normal person, I can leave. So he said, knowing me, it'll be a day sooner than everyone else, so maybe only 2 days in the hospital, which would be, I'm okay with that. So after he was in, or kind of, they all kind of come in at the same time, the stoma nurse came in, and she was like, oh, she's like, that looks painful. And I was like, it is. And I go, and it's been like this for a couple weeks, but I knew I was coming up here, and I just decided to wait, and we could take care of it then. I told her that it felt like it was eating my skin, and that I was changing it every 2 days, my bag. And so she did a lot of poking and prodding, and she was like, well, we gotta try something different. We can't leave you the way that you are. And I said, no, we can't. I was like, do you have any magical paste that will just, or cream or whatever that I can put on there that will just make it all heal and feel better? And she said, unfortunately, no. But she fitted me for a different bag completely. She found it's called a Marlin, and I'd never even heard of this because we don't use them in the NICUs. Most of our babies don't even have ileostomies, they have colostomies, which is on your colon instead of your small bowel. So she brought it in, and basically it's just, it reminds me of a bowl. And this one's pre-cut, so I don't even need any scissors, which is kind of awesome. But it's basically because what I had was too flat against my skin, and my stoma stuck out too far for the flat ones to really work that well. So the Marlin gives more convexity, which is just a big word for more of a dip. And like I said, it's more like a bowl instead of the last one I was using was like a plate. And the minute she put it on, I mean, I walked out of there and I felt like a new woman. Like, my skin already felt so much better. Which, I mean, you think that I'm insane, but it really was like a whole new bag and a whole new lease on life, because finally it didn't hurt and it didn't feel irritated, and every time I moved, or if my pants were rubbing up against it, or if my dog brushed up against it, I mean, I wasn't like, oh, ow, and felt like a big old baby, but it's true, because it was so red and so irritated. So I'm very excited about the Marlin. The only issue I had is I told her, I was like, my skin has been so sensitive and so, like, would just break out from all the other products that I'd tried except for the Coloplast. And she goes, oh, honey, she's like, I'm crossing my fingers that this will work and not cause any irritation, because she's like, otherwise we're going to have to go to plan, like, D at this point. She's like, and I don't know what plan D would be. So, I'm very happy so far. She said if I had any issues, she gave me her, like, email address and said, send me a picture. She's like, and I'll try to help you the best I can. She was very, very sweet. And the nutritionist that was with her was very, very sweet too. They both were, they were amazed that I could still do 12-hour shifts and work with babies, because they thought that was pretty awesome. And the nutritionist wanted to know, like, what I was eating, how it was coming through, if I was keeping the consistency that I needed. And I told her about the Imodium and that it's way harder to stay hydrated this time around. So it was good. I felt so much better after I left there. I love getting a good report from Dr. Gorgon. He said, see you in 3 months. So, it's hard to believe that it's coming down to that, but it's almost over. He released me to go back to work. I can do anything I want, they said, except for crunches and ab work. I guess with the loop ileostomy, it's easier to herniate. So they said to not do that. That's not going to be very hard, because I don't like doing loads of stuff anyway. The other thing, they said to keep taking the Imodium as I need it. And we had talked about, I have one of my best friends, Blair, is getting married October 18th. So we talked about if we could maybe squeeze in the surgery like the last weekend in September. But Dr. Gorgon and I both, I knew he wasn't going to go for it. And he just said, it's not something that you want to rush. I said, okay, I understand. So, Mom was busy with her work and everything until the end of October, so October 30th. Countdown, 3 months from yesterday. And I will be a single unit once again. And by single unit, I mean without my lovely added accessory here. So, I'm ready. I wish we could do it tomorrow, but I know that's not possible. So, now we just have to stay well, stay hydrated, and just don't do anything to jeopardize this third surgery. That's what I keep telling myself. I think that's about it. I would have vlogged earlier today, but Mom and I went and picked up both the dogs. Went and got Bear from Tracy. Went and got Parker from his kennel. Bill won't be back until Monday. He has been on a business slash personal trip back to Jersey and New York. So he will get home Monday. Mom flies out Monday. So they'll actually miss each other, but that's their schedules. Mom and I went and we made dinner. Well, Mom made her famous lasagna, and we took dinner to Lee, the mom of the triplets, tonight. So we did that. I got to feed and hold and give them their medicine tonight. So that was good. Reminded me how much I love what I do. I'm ready to get back into it, I think. It's been good. I'm very grateful for good reports. I appreciate all the prayers and everybody wishing me good luck. It was a good start to my week. And I am a lucky girl. So I can't believe that in 3 months that it will be back to normal, or it's going to take a little bit longer than 3 months to get back to normal, but that I'll be able to get dressed in the morning and not put on one of these belly bands. I'll be able to eat and drink and not worry if it's going straight through me or what's going on. I'll be able to hold in my own gas, which you cannot do with a bag. It comes out when it wants to come out. Yeah. It's gonna be great. So, okay. I will talk to you guys later. Good night.